This video is going to review what you need to do when documenting a routine visit in Meditech. The first step is to confirm your day for a visit that is on your schedule. So you would say yes, yes. I'm going to say that this visit is authorized because this billing note is here. This is an action level 1 patient. Informed, auth. Just indicating why I'm doing a visit, that the system does not have authorization. I hit save note. So now I click finish. And this generates my perform visit task. I click begin on my perform visit task. Now, since this is a routine visit, starts with patient overview, start visit. I'm going to put down that I did the visit today at 12:45, and end time would be at, remember, AM PM 15:20. My electronic visit verification would be paper voucher. Document visit is the next page, so I can click next or click document visit. Now, the difference between the evaluation and the routine visit is that there is no evaluation tree that's going to be visible. It's going to include the routine care steps, and then you're going to document what you did with the patient down here in the care plan section under the plan. Now, in order for you to get focused on just the care steps that apply to your discipline, you can check the box that says display only my resource class. In this case, I am a physical therapist. So now I only have PT goals and interventions showing up in the plan. So you would start at the top. So routine care steps, you always need to document pain on every visit. So if your patient does not have pain, you could click pain control was assessed. There's no significant findings. If you use the FLAC, check off that you use the FLAC. If you use smiling faces, you can just put smiling faces down here in the notes section. If your patient does have pain and you're using the FLAC, you would click the go to and document on the FLAC go to. If the patient is experiencing pain and you want to document the details on that, using the smiling faces, you could go to the assess pain care step. Skin assessment is also required on every visit, so you would click in the details and indicate, if there were any skin issues. Then you would come down here, just hit save. There's no need to put in this middle section or to write anything on that pop-up. Report response to treatment. This is where you're going to document how your session went that day. So you'd click in the details. If you had a good session, you could say that you addressed the long-term goals, progress was made, and maybe the patient needed some cueing. You could also say that the patient treatment was limited. These are just general statements. So once you make your general statements, you don't need to put anything here. Just click save. And this care step is probably the most important because it really summarizes the outcomes of your sessions. What the patient was able to do, what were the good things that happened, if there were any difficulties, the real details of the session notes. So this would be a summary of the visit and outcomes. And that would be a narrative note. If you reviewed the patient's home exercise program that day, you can indicate that you reviewed, you reinforced compliance, and then if you taught anything new, you could indicate that there. You can indicate how the education went, so you can say that the patient caregiver, required reinforcement, that they understood, that they demonstrated. If you supervised a home health aide, you would document it here. If you assess vital signs, you would come here, go into the vital signs. Let's say you did a respiration. You could document that there. The equipment care step is here if there's anything new in the home during your routine visit. If there were no changes indicated, you could just leave that blank. Now, here in Establish Short-Term Goals, this is where your Copy Prior Instance button really starts coming into play, because maybe you don't remember the exact goals that you set out to achieve on your first visit. So here you could come, click Copy Prior Instance. This opens up the Copy Prior Instance button. So here are the goals that I documented when I did my initial evaluation. So I can copy all of the goals in here, or I could just copy one or two of them, whichever one I would like to comment on today. I'll copy in all three. Now let's say that I did get an increase of knee extension by 5 degrees. This goal has been met. I can copy this. You can highlight it and hit Control C on your clipboard, or you can right click and hit copy. And then you could right click and hit paste, move it down here, and indicate that that goal was met. So let's say that I want to start working on a new short-term goal. I could just take that one out and type in the new short-term goal. Patient will improve ankle dorsiflexion by 5 degrees. So you can be maintaining and updating your short-term goals on any routine visit. You don't have to do it on every visit, but it's always here. So once you finish all of the care steps, let me just save that. Once you finish all the care steps in the routine, this is sort of the overview of what happened during your session. Now you need to document what you performed, the interventions that you performed. So here, if I worked on contracture management, I can click in the details and I could just check off all of the things that I worked with on that patient today. You don't have to type everything out. You don't need to write a narrative note about all of this because you have your outcome statement up above in the third care step. So this is just the details of exactly what you worked on with that patient during that session. If I worked on bed mobility, same thing. You can just check off the few things that I did. You can always put in extra details down here in the notes section. If there is a specific thing that you work with your patient on a, every session, like a special routine, you can always click the plus sign and then just select free text, and you can write, side prop with tactile cues to maintain head tilt to left. And now this will be saved here as a detail. And on future visits, when you come up to copy prior instance, this free texted detail will be available for copying. So you can always make sure, you can always put in specific patient-specific details if you're going to be performing that activity routinely on future visits. If you put it up here as a detail rather than a note, it'll be available under copy prior instance. If you don't perform a particular activity that particular session, you just wouldn't document on that care step during that day. If you're finding that there's care steps here that you're rarely or never using, these pull from your care plan. So really you would want to make sure that when you contribute to your care plan on your next recert, or you can go into modify review care plan, that you remove this goal in the future. So you would just come down here. Now the therapeutic exercise ones and some of the speech ones as well, when you click the details, some of them you can't multi-select. So if I worked on arm raises, you can come in and put the side, how many sets that you did, how many repetitions you did. Wow, that's a lot. Or instead of doing all that, you can just come in and write a narrative note with the details of all the things that you did. Whatever makes it easier and, really gets across the interventions, because the interventions is what makes your session billable. So once you finish documenting all of your everything that you worked on, you can click next. And there's clinical profile, medications, lab results. Now communications. You should always stop on the communications page before you go over to complete visit, because you can come in and look at all of the communications that have been written in the past. So it's a nice timeline to see what's been going on with your patient. Even if you didn't get the, for whatever reason, maybe you didn't get the receive team communications, maybe you weren't on the case at that time. It's a great way for you to kind of go back and just review what's been going on with this patient. Now, in order to put in a communication, if you've had a quick conversation with any of the other clinicians on the case and you want to summarize that, if your patient has had any pain, excessive absences, a new medication, any of the, if you see something, say something things, you want it put in a team communication. So the way you would do that is you would click up here, click the plus sign. The subject would be coordination. The method would be team communication. Send to, you could go to all team leads. Now, team leads is just your clinical lead. It is clinical leads, your lead PT, OT, speech, nurse, social worker. It's not going to the supervisor. If you wanted to put your supervisor in to be aware of whatever issue is going on, you'll have to add your supervisor in individually. And then in here, summary of issue, or the new process is going to be at the first visit of every month, you're going to write a monthly coordination with a summary of the patient status. That way, everyone on the case knows what you're working on, the issues that you've been aware of, and we satisfy the Department of Health's regulation for monthly coordination. If you don't need to do a communication that visit, if it's not the first visit of the month and nothing reportable has happened, then you can skip it. But it is always a good idea to come in, change your filters to all, and just take a look and see what's been going on. The last step is to come in to complete visit. So this is your last opportunity to ensure that your dates and times are correct. If you put the wrong date and time in here, you have to contact your scheduler on your team to make that correction for you. You just have to answer the question, were you able to perform this visit? You would say yes. You can leave all of these fields blank unless you need to answer it. So complete documentation later is only if you need to finish more clinical documentation for the case. Care plan needs to be reviewed or modified. I would always leave that blank because then it generates an extra task for you. Primary payer, if it's changed, you would say yes and then write a billing note up here. And you would never say yes to request visit note to be printed or initiate discharge. You can click apply signature. And just as one last thing, if you want to see what's been going on with your patient's authorizations, billing notes are available for review. So if you wanted to come in and see what's been going on with your patient's authorizations, you could always click billing note at the end of every visit and see what the last authorization that your patient has. So that is the perform visit task. Very simple. The main pages, again, are start visit, put in your start and end time and EVV. Document visit, definitely always need to do pain, skin, and report response to treatment, and then indicate the interventions that were performed down at the bottom in the plan section. Should always come in and review communications and send one if there is something to be said, either a summary of an issue that's been going on or your monthly coordination on your first visit of the CERT. And then complete visit, review your start and end time, say yes, and apply your signature. And that's perform visit, routine visit.